Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
History's masterpieces wouldn't be the same without their most notable accents. Neither would the Kia Sportage without its multiple drive modes. The Kia Sorento without its expansive 12.3-inch panoramic display. Or the Kia Telluride without its 3 rows of spacious seating. The 2025 Kia SUVs. Kia, movement that inspires.
Call 800-333-4KIA for details. Always drive safely. Limited inventory available.
Welcome to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based podcast that spotlights Black women that replace silence with storytelling around pregnancy and infant loss and infertility. Black women experience miscarriage and stillbirth 4 to 5 times more likely than white women in the United States, according to the CDC and NIH. Whether you've experienced a miscarriage, infant loss, or stillbirth, are trying to conceive, or have an infertility diagnosis, you will learn about resources and strategies to heal, gain clarity, peace, and hope, and find an empowering path forward after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. Freeman, and you'll hear me interview other sisters in loss from around the world who have healed from such a painful and traumatic experience by sharing their testimonies and stories to inspire and help others turn their pain into their purpose. Storytelling is powerful. Storytelling is activism. Storytelling is healing. Now let's get started. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. I would love for you to just introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Hadeer, and I was born in Egypt. I came to Canada when I was 11 years old. I currently live in Laval, which is a small island right above Montreal, Canada. I have a full-time job that I, go to the office every day for, but my true passion is the doula business that I run, and it's mainly focused on fertility, mostly infertility specialties. So like helping couples through the infertility journey and dealing with that, as well as the other side of my doula business is the bereavement side, which is dealing with couples dealing with miscarriage, even single people, miscarriages, baby loss, perinatal loss, prenatal loss. I got inspired to do that kind of work just because I've personally gone through not only infertility, but also multiple pregnancy and baby loss. So it's very rewarding, and to just be able to share my insights and views and advice with other people who are also struggling is so incredibly rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. And so happy to have you to share your story. So just take us back on that journey, take us back to your journey to motherhood and share with us your life story.
In 2015, we got married, my husband and I. And I decided we should just be married for a year. There's no reason to be, rush into trying to conceive or anything like that. I think about 10 months later, we started trying, and it wasn't, as everybody says, it wasn't happening as fast as everybody thinks it is. We were not really timing intercourse per se, but we weren't using any protection, but it still took a very long time. It took 14 months to conceive that first son. It was a very healthy pregnancy. Everything went fine. He was born 8 pounds, 9 ounces, big boy. But he was healthy and everything was fine. Then we decided to try for number 2 in 2019. And I did conceive very quickly, actually. We tried in January and I got pregnant again in May, but it was a chemical pregnancy. So it was a loss, a very early loss, around 4 weeks. It was incredibly devastating. I didn't even know anything about loss at that time. I didn't even fathom it would be possible to happen to me. And it was very difficult to comprehend even what was happening to my body. From 1 minute I had a positive pregnancy test, and literally a couple days later it was negative. So I didn't understand what was going on. And I did go to the emergency room for that. But, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners would know, many of the nurses and the doctors would say, there's literally nothing we can do at 4 weeks. We can't save this baby. It's either done or, like if he survives, he survives. If it's done, it's done. Then fast forward a couple months later, in August 2019, I got pregnant again. This time the baby stuck. And, I had this motherly instinct that just something was off, something was wrong. I wasn't bonding as I was with my first son. Something was just not connecting me with the pregnancy. And in hindsight, I do think that it was because of that loss in the middle that I wasn't enjoying the pregnancy after loss. But I didn't know what was going on with the baby. So we had obviously tests, blood tests, sonograms, ultrasounds, everything that would think you would notice if there was something wrong with the baby. But then I got a call from my doctor saying that I have an elevated risk of trisomy 18. So he asked me to do a more comprehensive test to verify. So I did do the test again, and it came back completely negative. Everything was fine. And I found out that it was a boy, another boy. At the 20-week ultrasound, everything changed. So we went into the ultrasound, super excited. Oh, should we find out at that time I didn't know what the sex was. Should we find out what the sex was? Should we do a gender reveal? Like, we were just over the moon happy to have another baby in our life. We go in and the ultrasound technician is not saying very much. She's talking more about me, not saying much about the baby. She stops and she says, I'm going to need the doctor to come in because I need something to be verified. So she calls the doctor, and the doctor, incredibly heartless, says, well, that's the end of that exam. I started hyperventilating. I started, of course, freaking out. What is going on? What is happening? Can someone tell me what's going on? So she's like, please come get dressed. Please come with me to the office and we will talk about this later. So at that point, the doctor had already spoken to my OB and told him what's happening. And when I got into the office, she explained to me that my son has anencephaly, which is basically it's a birth defect where the brain is not completely fully developed. So it is obviously incompatible with life, as they always say. They basically made the decision for me. They made the decision for me to terminate that pregnancy. So they scheduled me in for an induction the next day. I didn't even get the chance to, make the decision, think about it, decide what to do. It was just like, you're coming in tomorrow at 8 a.m. and you're coming in, make sure you bring pads or whatever, because this is going to be a terminated pregnancy. This was December 2019. So you can imagine this was right before Christmas, and already this is a very tough, stressful time of the year. And to add this on top of that, it was just too much. I immediately started feeling my heart breaking into a million pieces. I couldn't understand what was going on. I felt like it was a dream. It was a nightmare. This cannot be real. I cannot imagine having like the option of killing my son. That's how I saw it, of killing my son. I mean, we went home that day. I was, of course, hysterical. Our living son, he was at daycare, so we went to pick him up. People were asking me how I was because we heard you were at the hospital, and it was just, I broke down every time anybody asked me a question. So the next day we went in. I was induced to deliver vaginally, even though it was 20 weeks. I did want to see the baby. Originally I did not want to see him. I just wanted him to not exist. But the more I went on through the labor, I realized I need to see him. I need to hold him. I need to look at him. And so that's what we decided to do. And sure enough, I was given Pitocin, I was induced, and finally, I would say about 12 hours later, I was fully dilated, so 10 centimeters dilated, and I was ready to deliver a dead baby, basically. So that happened. I did hold him. I named him Luca. We have a service in Canada where we are able to cremate children less than a year old for free. So I was able to cremate my son, and I have his ashes. I wear it in a Pandora bracelet every day. It's very important for me. So that happened with him. I mean, it was an absolutely devastating time. In the postpartum recovery was horrible. I did hit postpartum depression, of course. I was diagnosed with depression, so I was given antidepressants. And 2020 was, as we all know, 2020 was fantastically special. So dealing with the pandemic, as well as the loss of a child, as well as depression, was just the worst year of my life. On top of everything, I found out that my gallbladder was infected and it needed to be removed ASAP. This was July. Rushed to the hospital, had emergency surgery all by myself because the pandemic didn't allow any visitors. Nobody was allowed to come into the hospital, so I was all by myself. It was really traumatic, to be honest. And so that happened. And I just thinking about it now, it's just like, what have I gone through? Seriously, my gosh. Finally, we decided to, obviously throughout this whole time, from the moment I got my first period, which was January, all the way to June, we were really deciding to try again, but it was just not successful at all. We went in to just get some tests done into a fertility clinic, and we found out that I have low ovarian reserve. So chances of conceiving are quite low naturally, and that my husband's sperm has high DNA fragmentation, which means the DNA that does come out from his sperm is highly damaged. So, we needed to take some supplements, and we needed to take a whole bunch of things to just kind of improve our health in order to be able to conceive again. So we did try artificial insemination several times. We did 5 times. The first one did result in a pregnancy, but once again, it was a chemical pregnancy. So this is the 3rd loss in a row. The 4 other artificial inseminations, or IUIs, were negative. Were not successful. Finally, in January of 2021, we decided to do the IVF round because of all the issues that we were dealing with. We had to borrow money from my parents-in-law because obviously it's just way too expensive to cover on our own. So we did pay for that. We did the egg retrieval. I had a good amount of eggs come out, was 19 eggs. 13 of them were mature, and then 11 were fertilized. And by the end, we had 6 blastocysts. And we tested, one of them for some reason just kind of stopped growing and died. But the other 5, we tested them for PGTA, which is, basically like knowing if any of the genetics or the chromosomes of the embryo itself are complete, like 23 chromosomes, 23 pairs of chromosomes, and no duplications, no subtractions, things like that. 4 of them came back normal. We ended up transferring one of the embryos in May of 2021, and blessed I was pregnant, and this baby stuck. He was very healthy, was kicking. I felt him kick from 10 weeks. He was a very strong baby. The pregnancy, of course, carried on its normal anxiety as a pregnancy after loss, as usual. A pregnancy after infertility as well is very nerve-wracking. But finally, at 38 weeks, I was in labor. I was 33 centimeters dilated with 80% effacement, and I went to go get checked at the hospital. They had me on the monitor. They were able to see the contractions. They were pretty strong. However, I wasn't personally feeling them, so there was something going on. There's something wrong. His heartbeat was very strong. It was 165. I was told by the nurse, everything's fantastic. Go home. Maybe I'll come back later today. I did. I went home. He was kicking nonstop. He was I could tell that he was just ready to come out, but maybe my body was not listening to what the signals he was giving. And the next day, I didn't feel him kick. He stopped kicking. I noticed it around 10 a.m. And I was just questioning what's going on. So 2 hours have passed at that point. Actually, 4 hours have passed at that point. And so I got my Doppler out to check if I could find a heartbeat. I couldn't find anything. And I was checking for a full hour, like freaking out, where is your heartbeat, trying to find even the placental heartbeat. I could not find anything. So I called the hospital again. I said, this is not right. Something's going on. I'm not hearing the heartbeat. I go into the hospital. I am not kidding, about 6 or 7 nurses around me in the middle of COVID, trying to find this baby's heartbeat with an ultrasound machine, with a Doppler, anything. They couldn't find anything. And so finally the doctor came in and she said, this is his stomach, this is his heart, and we're not seeing any flicker. So I'm sorry, but there is no heartbeat. Personally, call me selfish, I never expected to hear those words. I never expected anybody to say to me, we cannot see a heartbeat. So it was the shock of a lifetime after 38 weeks pregnant with this baby boy, and he just suddenly dies for really no reason. And once again, I was induced with Pitocin, and within the hour, honestly, I went from 3 centimeters to 10 centimeters. So clearly my body was ready to be in labor, but perhaps somebody just dropped the ball somewhere, or I'm not trying to blame anybody, of course. I just felt like he was ready to come out. However, my body was not responding to his signals. So finally, he came out. I held him. I slept with him. I put him next to me. Of course, he was purple and blue. He did completely die in my uterus, and so I didn't want to let him go, of course. So he left. I gave him to the nurse to take him somewhere else so I can finally take just sleep at 4 a.m. in the morning. But again, I had to take him back, and I kept him with me until I left around 12 or 1 p.m. the next day. So that happened this year, January 7th, 2022. So it's very recent, and honestly, I'm still dealing with the grief of that. Unfortunately, just recently, last week, my husband decided he doesn't want to be married anymore. So he decided to separate from me. He's moved out, last night. And so to say that I am raw is an understatement. I am very emotional and very upset about this whole thing. And to be honest, I don't really know if the reason that he decided to do this was because of our son's death. But what came out of it right now is that there is so much anger and emotions, like raw emotions, headed towards me from him. So to be honest, I'm not sure how to deal with that, but I'm trying to do my best.
You have taken us on a journey, Hadeer. I don't even know where to start. But
I
one thing
know.
I can say is that I appreciate the strength and tenacity that you have had throughout this whole journey, because getting bad news after bad news, losing your first baby, going through IUIs, losing those babies, going through IVF, and then losing this last baby, it could be debilitating to the point where you physically can't get out of bed. And then for you to be open and honest and share about just where you are in your relationship, I think that even compounds the grief. So I would love for you to really talk about just how you've navigated through these different transitions, right? Because this isn't easy for anybody to let alone to be at this place and to do this isolated, right? We've been in COVID during most of this time that you've experienced all these losses. So it's not like you can have everybody around you that normally would come and surround you and support you.
Yeah.
So really, how have you navigated through COVID? And obviously I know this is like still an ongoing process because this is still fresh and very new. But I really want our listeners to understand that this is not, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint.
That's right.
And that grief comes when it comes. And sometimes, and we're still, compartmentalizing what's happening with COVID, but we really haven't processed the full extent of the grief of COVID. Yeah. Let alone those who have gone through loss through COVID. So I'd love for you to just talk about your journey and how you have navigated through the different transitions, because I think a lot of people can understand and empathize with how they have been going through all of the things throughout this time period as well.
Right. Yes, absolutely. When the first, I call it the first loss, like the first big loss, which was the termination for medical reasons. That's what they call it, TFMR. When that happened, as you can imagine, it was 2020. So I did not have any support. I did not have people coming to see me. Everybody was just, from a distance, texting me or calling me or whatever. And it, of course, exacerbated the pandemic, meaning I exacerbated the emotions, the raw grief, the raw, just everything. Like I felt like I was a raw cooked turkey, and I was just not able to like heal at all. I felt like I was thrown in the oven and with no protection. That's basically how it felt like to me, that I was just trying to understand what is going on and dealing with my grief, as well as dealing with the anxiety that I felt with the pandemic. I was extremely afraid of this virus. Of course, it didn't help that I was already dealing with a loss, and I knew that this virus was killing people, and I didn't want to deal with another loss on top of it. And that's like, basically 2020 was just, the whole year was me trying to deal with the grief as well as the pandemic. And it was just one on top of the other. However, I did not stop from reaching out for help. So even though my family's fantastic and great, none of them really understood what I was going through, because they did not go through it themselves. They did not experience a loss like I have. My mother personally has not. She has never lost a baby. My mother-in-law as well has never lost a baby. People in my immediate circle, whether it be cousins, friends, whoever, have also not lost a baby. So they didn't understand it. And they didn't understand why I was so upset. They never saw the baby. They never saw or held the baby. And I, at that time, with the grief so strong, I didn't take pictures of him. So I didn't have anything to hold on to in terms of memories. So they didn't understand me, but that didn't stop me from reaching out to my community outreach program to find out that there is a group therapy that deals just for baby and pregnancy loss. That helped immensely. I also reached out to my other community support for an one-on-one therapy session, and that was also very helpful. So those two things, as well as reaching out to my family doctor and asking them for antidepressants, all of those combined really helped me kind of just keep my head above water until I was able to accept what happened to my child, what happened to me, what happened to my family, and grow around it. Recently, with this loss at the 38-week mark, it did happen in 2022, and yes, of course, COVID is still going on. And we had the strictest pandemic restrictions here in Quebec. Like, we had curfews, we had restrictions of not being allowed to go into people's homes for a very long time. I think it was 2 or 3 months. There was no gathering at all at home. But regardless of that, I know I'm probably implicating myself right now, but people did come over and people did come and support me and cry with me and bring me food and support me as much as possible. But at the same time, I was able to deal with this grief at the 38-week mark as opposed to the 20-week mark, just because I knew I survived the original loss. So looking back on it, I grew a stronger heart, if you will, to be able to deal with the loss that just happened recently. That doesn't mean to say that it didn't affect me or anything like that. I, of course, felt extreme pain, extreme heartache, extreme grief. And of course, it probably even hit me more because this baby was a very big possibility. He was a healthy boy. We were very ready to bring him home. We had the crib set up. We had a bassinet set up. We had clothes. We had diapers. We had wipes. We had everything possible to bring this baby home. And to once again leave the hospital empty-handed with no baby in a car seat was extremely heartbreaking. So, like I said, because I dealt with the original loss, I was able to deal with this loss in a more sound mind, if you will. Like, I was able to, in a level head, accept, not fully, of course, not yet anyways, the grief and the loss in a more level head, as opposed to just being overwhelmed with emotions, being overwhelmed with feelings and not understanding why things happened the way they are. I still have that feeling because the baby died for no real reason. We don't know what happened to him. We did do an autopsy. We still don't know what's going on. So I'm still looking for those answers, but I was able to accept and grow around that loss a bit more. At the same time now, with this relationship issue that I'm having, this is hitting me a lot worse than the loss itself. So I am not able to accept that my husband decided to leave me, much worse than accepting that my son died for no reason, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. I love that you were plugged into some grief groups that helped you navigate through and will continue to help you as you navigate through this next transition. But what other tools or resources or things that you have helped you on your journey?
That's a great question. So yeah, for sure, there's a wonderful loss community out there. It doesn't have to be through Instagram or anything like that. I mean, Facebook groups, there's lots and lots and lots, probably millions of them, I'm not sure, of loss groups. And whatever you're feeling at the exact moment, if you type it out and press post, someone else is feeling the same way as you. And that's really important, that you feel like you're not alone, that you know that someone out there is feeling the same way as you. And it's horrible to say that someone is probably experiencing the same exact thing that you're feeling at the same exact moment that you're feeling it. So, I mean, there's comfort in pain, I guess, because if someone else is feeling, a complete stranger that you don't know from like another side of the world is feeling the same way as you, it does help. For me, it did help to know that I was not alone, as well as just basically like posting about what is happening with me on Instagram. And I have not a huge following, but I do have a few people that follow me. When all of these people, even random strangers, just telling you, I'm so sorry for your loss. We're here to listen to you if you want to reach out, and please let me know if there's anything I can do. That is so amazing. It's so great to know that someone out there cares about you with that much empathy, and they don't even know you. So I always say it's the best group of people, but the worst club. It really is, because it has a lot of people who just feel the level of empathy that you're not going to get from somebody who's never experienced this before. And even if they did not go through the exact same loss as you, or like, for example, my termination is something that I was really, for a long time, thought I would not be included in this loss family, in this loss community. I really thought that I would be shunned because it was a choice that I made to terminate that pregnancy. But I was welcomed with open arms. I was, this is a pregnancy that you wanted. This is a baby that you wanted at the end of the day. And you allowed 100% to grieve for it, for sure. And so, just the online community is amazing and it's fantastic. Now, if I can be able to do a little shameful plug in here, of course, there's bereavement doulas that can help you with this as well. So even though, it might seem that I'm not in the right frame of mind to be able to help somebody at the current moment, but when somebody comes to me and says, I am really struggling with this, this is really hitting me harder than it's possible, just having somebody to listen to you, just to hear you out and know what you're feeling and understand what you're feeling is extremely helpful. So there's so much support out there for people who have lost babies, whether it be in your community, whether it be online, and whether it be, bereavement doulas, or, even a friend that you didn't even know that lost a baby and they didn't want to speak about it before. But just opening up about that kind of conversation and just sharing your pain with somebody, you never know, because somebody might tell you, I actually lost a baby too. I had a miscarriage and it was very difficult for me. And that's a very great bonding experience, so that you can also ask them, how did they deal with it? How did you get through it? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? In addition to that, me personally, what I'm seeking through right now, and now, of course, I'm not recommending this to anybody. This is just me, my personal journey. I am actually seeking out mediums, because with the baby that died suddenly, and I don't know the reason why, I kind of want to know what that reason is. And even if you don't believe it, that's fine. It's not something you don't need to believe in it. That's okay. However, I needed that kind of peace of mind so that I can move on and accept why he died, because that is a big question mark, and I don't want to live my entire life wondering why. So I am seeking out some mediums. I haven't met with one yet, but this is something that is another level of support for me. And regardless, even if the person doesn't give you the answer that you're asking for, it's another session that you're able to sit down with somebody and just speak to that person about your pain and your suffering. So it is very helpful.
No, I love that. I think that a lot of people don't recognize that there are so many other modalities to get them to their healing. And I love that you are exploring that as another method for you, so that you can get the closure you need to move forward, which is necessary as you navigate the next phases of your grief journey, because it's a lifelong journey. So I would love for you to just leave our listeners with some encouraging words, those who have gone through very similar experiences. I think that you've gone through the gamut of having a termination with medical reasons, a chemical pregnancy, going through fertility treatments, having a successful IVF that turned out into a stillbirth. It's just, Hadeer, you have a story, and I'm so honored that you allow me to share it. What encouraging words can you have those mothers who have been through the gamut of trying to conceive and bring home a baby as we navigate through this COVID pandemic, endemic, because we're still in it right now?
Yes, yeah. So it's funny that you asked that, because when my son died in January, I don't know what it was, but I was kind of just scrolling through, blindly scrolling through Facebook, and I saw the words "do not give up," and I felt like it was speaking to me. So it was so encouraging to know, like, I did not know if I wanted to try again. I did not know if I could even move on from this. But those words, "do not give up," really resonated with me. And it's so difficult. It's so difficult to deal with loss, to deal with infertility. It's like you honestly feel like life is just hitting you left, right, center, and you're not able to get up and dust yourself off and move on. It feels like something is punishing you, which is absolutely not true. Like, there's no punishment in this. I don't believe that any spiritual guidance is punishing you in whatever life you believe you wanted to have. That's not true. It's not even a test. There's no test, and there's no reason for babies to die, and so there's no test to find out if you're strong enough in your faith or whatever it is. I really do believe that the resilience of people, especially women, is incredible. That when we set our minds to get something, especially when we want a living baby, nothing can stop us. And, if you're not able to keep a pregnancy, keep trying. If you're not able to have a successful pregnancy, please find a way to help you medically, whatever it be. If you're not able to, you're not able to think that you can move on, that's okay. Take your time. And if you accept the fact that you cannot move on with your life, and you cannot accept that your life in the future will have no children in it, then yes, go ahead and try again. But again, my encouraging words to everyone is that do not give up. Do not.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Hadeer, for sharing your story. I would love for our listeners to be able to follow you on social. If you want to give us your website, your social, any handles, we want to stay connected.
Absolutely. So that would be Snowflakes on Roses. My website is snowflakesonroses.com, and I have an Instagram also account. It's called Snowflakes on Roses. But if you go on the website, you'll be able to see all of my social media presence.
Oh, something I just noticed also, I remember you mentioning about you wear the ashes on your Pandora bracelet. But
yes.
I also noticed, for those who are watching our YouTube video, you actually have a tattoo on your arm of the footprints. Yes, I love that. So what footprints of those are of what baby?
This is Luca's footprints.
Okay.
I got them in August of 2020 after he passed away in December of 2019. I haven't been able to get my second son, which I named him Giacomo. I haven't been able to get his footprints yet, but I will eventually when I'm able to go get some tattoos done. Yeah,
absolutely. No, I love that. I just noticed it when you turned your arm around. I was like, oh,
yeah.
A lot of people don't think of ways of how to honor their baby. So when you mentioned the Pandora bracelet, I was like, oh, that's a great idea, especially for those of us who do believe in getting babies cremated. But the footprints are so precious, so precious. So
thank you.
So for those, you definitely go follow her. Maybe she'll have a picture on her Instagram so you can see her footprints. Or for those who are watching on YouTube, you got to see it. So thank you so much, Hadeer. This has been such a pleasure, such an honor. And I'm so grateful that we're able to share Luca's and Giacomo's story today, and then all your other babies that you've lost. This has been such an honor to be able to share with our sisters-in-laws community. So thank you again so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to share my story. And honestly, this was a breaking story. I never shared this story with anybody before. So it was something that I wasn't ready to tell. And honestly,
thank you for listening to today's episode. For show notes, go to sistersinloss.com. To stay connected with us and join the Sisters-in-Laws community and receive my weekly newsletter, please go to sistersinloss.com/newsletter. That is sistersinloss.com/newsletter. Please rate and review this episode, and I will talk to you next week.
History's masterpieces wouldn't be the same without their most notable accents. Neither would the Kia Sportage without its multiple drive modes. The Kia Sorento without its expansive 12.3-inch panoramic display. Or the Kia Telluride without its 3 rows of spacious seating. The 2025 Kia SUVs. Kia, movement that inspires.
Call 800-333-4KIA for details. Always drive safely. Limited inventory available.